No good for me. No good. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Hey, what's up? It's your boy Cali Code, iHeartRadio DJ. I'm continuing my What You Streaming series, and said I was gonna do a 4-part breakdown on each character in One Night in Miami because the movie was so good. Usually I just do one review and just do the whole thing and do it on air, but I said I'm gonna do it on video now. And like I said, I see myself in each one of the characters in this movie. So I decided to make What You Streaming a little bit longer and, really elaborate and go in on it. Once again, One Night in Miami, based off the stage play One Night in Miami, wrote by Kent Powers in 2013, and Regina King directed it. So much love to them and everything that they did with this film. It's really off the chain, the way that they brought it to life. I really, really enjoyed it. Talk about the Sam Cooke character. First of all, Leslie Odom. That's my dude, Leslie Odom Jr. Nationwide is on your side. I actually spent most of the holiday listening to his Christmas album. Dude just with a really, really beautiful voice and very powerful and just a talented brother. Seemed like a good-spirited brother too. Never met him, but he definitely seems like that. So definitely enjoyed his depiction of Sam Cooke. I've seen little short depiction of Sam Cooke in movies here and there. I've never seen somebody get that detailed and get that far off into the character. Maybe I'm missing. If you have seen some biopics or anything or any movies with roles where Sam Cooke is playing a bigger role or he's like the mainstay in a movie, let me know. I would love to check them out. I definitely do What You're Streaming on that. But today is about Sam Cooke and his character in One Night in Miami. Now, the first thing I noticed was Sam Cooke is like the overachieved underachiever in this film. I would go as far as to say is he had everything he wanted, but there was still something missing. And if that's coming across in the film, that's not always the case. That's not always the case with everybody and every artist or whatever, but we do see that a lot in history, especially as far as being a black artist. You want to be that person that crosses over and you want that acclaim, and it's not always necessarily because you want the approval of Latino people or white people or Asian people or all the approval of other people besides black people. It's kind of like, just as an American, you want your credit from everybody as being great at something as an American. So Sam Cooke basically was chasing after that. He opened up doing a scene at the Copacabana, which is like a big club back in the day. And it was bad. Matter of fact, I've seen a real-time interview where Sam Cooke says something to the extent of he bombed at the Copa or whatever. But and you see, even in the start of the film, instead of him doing one of his own songs, he jumps up there and does a cover of music, of more pop music, or something that you would say mainstream American artists would be doing at that time. And when I say mainstream America, in 1964, that is just white Americans. So he was battling with that, but as you see, he was an accomplished man. He had a bunch of hit records, great pop music, a distinguished voice. So it was one of those things is, even though he didn't get the chance to cross over big time, he still was very, very successful and loved. Like I said, outside of the movie, I've seen some documentaries and read some accounts and things about Sam Cooke, and he was very much a woke and a brother who was knew who he was and was very business savvy. That was something that was amazing about him, but definitely had that crossroads, which all of us as people have crossroads, and as a black man, the crossroads that we have, even with being successful and not successful. But I get to that later when I get to the parallel between Sam Cooke and Malcolm X. So I'll start about his relation to the character with Muhammad Ali. With Muhammad Ali, they both were identified with being young, black, and successful. As I know, they actually really did do an album together. Sam Cooke got with Muhammad Ali and recorded them, and they did an album together. And so they both were successful, handsome-looking guys. Knew what was going on, were loved by people, outspoken, flashy. Him and Ali definitely connected on that level. And like I said earlier, most of Ali is younger than each one of the characters. So him being 22 at this time, I think Sam Cooke was like 33. So he was still in a mentorship role, even with him and Ali. That was the basis of their friendship, is somebody like Sam Cooke basically saying, hey, I like you, I'm gonna take you under my wing, and you know, I got some game to give you, as I would say. But the business savvy and the likability of Sam Cooke really connected with Ali. And also knowing that it's okay to be successful. You know, as black men, a lot of times we look at different things and look at life from a different view, because so many of us aren't necessarily successful or living out our dreams because of oppression and certain things going in this country. There is a certain heaviness with being successful and feeling kind of like ostracized and by yourself at times. Not as much now. People are doing so much. There's so many successful people, college-educated people. It's so many people doing so much across the country who look like me. But at the same time, this film is based in 1964, so I couldn't imagine how he felt seeing everything that was going on in the country and being successful. There's a heaviness with that. And Ali kind of was able to kind of mold himself off the business savvy and I guess, not having a better word to say, the swag of Sam Cooke. And also you see some fight back with Ali becoming a Muslim, and Sam Cooke's kind of like negatively talking about it. And in the beginning, it seems like it's just a conflict of, you know, religion, because even Sam Cooke having a background in gospel, he had a Christian background. So there might have been a clash there with Ali wanting to become a Muslim and him looking at it negatively because he was a Christian. But when you watch the film further down the line and you see Sam Cooke fussing with Malcolm X, you see that he's also talking about the moral code of Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, and how it almost was a joke and a mockery to act like they were doing so much good and they were so much of spiritual men when all that crazy stuff was going on, because Sam Cooke had lived in Chicago. So it definitely it made a conflict there, to where Sam Cooke was like, hey, you shouldn't even get mixed up in that and let that be a hassle to you, because you got so much to lose. You don't need to waste it on that, and they're not real anyway. So I understand that. I don't necessarily agree with that mindset, although I know those transgressions and discretions and people are people. So there is, I think, with all religion and all organizations, there is this idea of conflict, because people are doing people things, but they're trying to present themselves as righteous. That always creates conflict. So that was kind of Sam Cooke and Ali. That's what I got from it. The Jim Brown character, him and Jim Brown both being successful, both being from the South. Jim Brown was about 28 in 1964. So it was more of him and Sam Cooke being 33 and Jim Brown being 28. It seemed like they were seasoned and they were okay with success. They knew what to do. They knew how to not mess it up. They knew how to be black and be themselves and be men, but at the same time carry themselves like professionals and handle themselves in the dealing with white people at the time and America, who didn't necessarily have love for black men like that at the time. Also, you see them talking on the rooftop, and they're talking about Baldwin Hills and L.A., which, you know, you later know to go on what Jim Brown and what he meant to L.A., the city of L.A., doing such things as bringing about, you know, gang peace treaties and organizing. He really took a place in L.A. And in the movie, you hear Sam Cooke alluding to moving to L.A. and saying, hey, that's the place to go. So it's almost trying to say that Jim Brown actually got the idea of going to LA and making that a staple for his movie career and being a part of that community from Sam Cooke, because Sam Cooke was like, this is the place where you need to be. So that was kind of cool. Like I said, the movie is factional, where there is some fact in it. They were all together that night, but the conversation is kind of like by revelation, or what you thought they would have been talking about. Even though Jim Brown has actually came out and said that they were talking about political things and real things that night. So it's not too far-fetched. And like I said, I think the way they did in the movie, I think it was awesome. Last but not least, Sam Cooke and his parallel with Malcolm X in the movie. A lot of conflict, a lot of going back and forth. But first, I think the first two things that you have to address with these two men is they're in two different places. Both got the notoriety, both known. And at this time, I feel like Malcolm X was probably known even more because he was more hated. But Sam Cooke, Malcolm X, both at this place of notoriety, but Sam Cooke is rich. And he's a singer, and he has a career. And Malcolm X is a man who's just devoted his life to the struggle, to religion, and leading black people. So the lines are kind of blurred. It's like Sam Cooke is like, hey, I know what I'm doing. I know what I mean to black people, and I'm making money. I'm business savvy. I'm pushing forward the culture. What are you doing? It sounds like he was almost accusing Malcolm X of just being a race baiter, as they like to say now, just causing trouble and stirring up trouble just to get notoriety. So there was a big clash there, back and forth. Then you have to recognize the difference between Malcolm X being in the Nation of Islam and Sam Cooke having like a Christian background, that's still a clash today. Black people, in choosing religions, it's one of those things in America where we're all grouped together in one group as black people, but we have different religions. We're from different parts of the country. We do different things, different levels of education. And so it's kind of hard to be grouped in with people when you're different, but where we're all the same is our black skin. And so that's always an issue. And where I'm at with it, whether it's Christian, Muslim, whatever, hey, black is black, black first. That's what people see from you first. I think that's the first most important thing. But Sam Cooke was the first masterpiece. He really was, though. He was hustling music, A lot of the game came from Sam Cooke. And even when him and Malcolm X were going back and forth, and Malcolm X almost accused him of not caring what was going on, he was like, hey, I'm in black business. I'm doing black business. I got brothers who make records. They're getting paid by people singing their songs and getting the biggest checks they've ever got. So just that aspect, even you see the clash of that in black people who are out in the streets doing certain things and feeding the homeless and doing this and doing that, and they're in the streets touching people's hands like Malcolm X, versus the black person who represents good to us, the successful person, the person who could write a check, the person who can help somebody start a business, the person who can start somebody else's career. There's room for both, but there's always a clash. And you have to find yourself and know who you are. So even versus the Malcolm X character, Sam Cooke lets you know, hey, this is what it is. I'm still important. I know what I'm doing, and I'm purposely doing this for my people. So it was interesting to hear that, because it has to be said. It has to be said. Also, when you talk about Malcolm X and Sam Cooke's clash, one of the things I noticed was Jim Brown coming back and defending defending Sam Cooke to Malcolm X in the movie, and basically saying, hey, you have no right to try Sam like that. You have no right to act like he's not about the movement, because, hey, this brother is from Mississippi. This brother is making money. What he's doing is just about impossible to do. And he should be respected for that. And he hasn't forgotten his people. And we see that parallel a lot. We think, oh, because such and such is not here, they don't care about the people. Or such and such is not here, that has to go. We have to stop worrying about what other people are doing and worrying about what we're doing. But at the same time, in the film, you do see Malcolm X pressing him for more, and I feel like that was very important, and it was just as much needed. Even when you feel like you're doing right, there's always another level to go to, and so Malcolm X's character was very instrumental in the film in pushing him to more. Like he played the Bob Dylan song, and then which Sam Cooke went on later to perform also, and he kind of was getting at him for his content, like saying, "Hey, you doing all right, being cute." But your music was better when you was a soul stirrers. It was something real. It was about God. It was about a religion. It was about something more than just on the surface like this pop music. He basically accused him of selling out gospel music, which we've seen a lot. All the early artists, gospel is the first form of music in the United States that was created here, and it was created by us. And so every other movie, it doesn't a music genre, doesn't matter if it's rap, jazz, all of it came out of gospel music, which came out the fields in the South. So he was saying, hey, you're taking this music that means something and perverting it just to entertain people. Why don't you make something real? And so in the film, it kind of alludes to a change gonna come, which is what Sam Cooke is known for, coming out of that. And what's pretty dope is, with that song, even listening to it and thinking that, hey, he was working on this song at the end of his life. When you listen to the song, it almost sounds like he knew he was going to pass, or he knew he was going to die. And which is the next point that I get to. Malcolm X and Sam Cooke kind of pressing on each other and quarreling with each other, having all this friction, but it's almost like they both had their destinies tied up in death. So it was like Malcolm X had to push him to get to that point. So after he left his mark, and Sam Cooke gave us more than what he was given. And also Sam Cooke was kind of confronting him like, hey, you throwing away everything just to start whatever. So it's like a clash of martyrdom. Really, really interesting. That was my favorite two characters in the movie, their interaction, because it was so on point and today, to where should we have business or should we, just say forget everything and detach ourselves and help our people only? And I think we need both. Yeah, Sister Gina. Yeah, he definitely knew what was going on. But I feel like Sam Cooke felt the same way. I feel like just historically, he felt like his time was coming just because of his business and certain things he was doing. And later I went on to do some research. Sam Cooke was actually hanging out with the Black Panther Party. He definitely had some meetings and dealings with the Nation of Islam. So he was really in tune. Not the Black Panther Party, excuse me, but the Nation of Islam. He was really in tune. He wasn't disconnected as kind of like the film portrays it. But if you don't know him, you definitely would feel like he was disconnected. So I was happy to see this film. I love Sam Cooke's character. I love Leslie Odom Jr. and the way he played it. I've always loved Sam Cooke. My father being from the South, he loves Sam Cooke. Everything Sam Cooke. I've been hearing Sam Cooke's music since I was young. The gospel and the pop music. So I just definitely was happy to see him get some on-screen love and him actually have his story just presented to another generation, so we could dive deeper into it in the man and who he was. So, hey, make sure you check the movie out, review it yourself, and if you get some other observations from the movie on each character, I'm just letting y'all know what each character means to me and what it was. Not exactly, this isn't this isn't a fact that this is what was going on, but this is what I got from it. So let me know what you got from it. Connect with me, hit me up. Make sure you hit me up on Facebook and hit me up on my blog, love1011.com, my103q.com, and hallelujah963.com, and get at your boy and let's talk. I got another review coming tomorrow. I'm going to do Jim Brown, which is going to be real good because Jim Brown is tied to here where I work and where I live every day and to my family. So I'm really enjoy that. Hey, so y'all be blessed. Check it out, share it, get in the conversation, and holler at me. And remember to let me know what you're streaming. Keep it.